which will allow me to carry some of it, but also allow me to come to the news desk and anchor some of it. So right now we, for TV, are showing, as I'm speaking, a little bit of footage of the pro-life rally. Again, some of this is coming from this new system that we have contracted with. And again, it's giving us the opportunity to bring news and information, whether live or capturing the audio and bringing it to you here later for both radio and television. So again, we're covering the pro-life rally in Washington, D.C., and they've got tens of thousands that have showed up. And the big breaking news story today is that President Trump, per his promise, pardoned many, I think about 23 pro-lifers that were languishing in prison due to the Biden regime. And some of these were elderly folks, and many of them did nothing violent. I don't think any of them did anything violent. They were just simply exercising their First Amendment right in front of abortion clinics, and many of them were just praying and ended up being thrown in the gulag by the Biden regime. Those folks have now been pardoned, and thank the Lord for that. All right. Joining me now is Dr. Andy Woods. Dr. Woods, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Brandon, good to be here.
Great to have you on board again for a Middle East update. What are your thoughts on some of the things I was just reporting about the pro-lifers being pardoned?
Well, you know, a lot of these never Trumpers like Mike Pence have said, you know, Trump is, and DeSantis said that all this stuff in the primary, that Trump is somehow antithetical to pro-life. I just am not seeing where these people are coming from. I mean, I think Trump has done more for the pro-life cause than any president I can think of in my lifetime in modern history. Trump is the one that put the justices on the Supreme Court that got rid of that infamous Roe versus Wade decision. And then if that weren't enough, here's Trump coming in and pardoning, you know, all of these pro-lifers where the FACE Act, you know, was wrongly and in a very totalitarian way applied against them. You know, not the least of which is Bevelyn Williams, who is, as I understand it, is now reunited with her young family. By the way, a black person. So Trump is reuniting a black family and a pro-life family. You know, keep that in mind the next time you hear people call Trump a racist. So I don't know. I look at Trump as really doing. I don't know of anybody that's done more for the pro-life cause than Donald Trump. And so I'm not buying this never Trumper argument, you know, that Trump is somehow antithetical to the pro-life cause. And these latest list of pardons, you know, proves it.
Very well said. And of course, we're also getting footage today of the many of these illegals being rounded up and sent out of the United States. I have some footage somewhere in all my work today, but they're rounding them up and putting them on airplanes and sending them out of the United States. I mean, President Trump was just sworn in on Monday, and already the illegals are being rounded up and sent out of the United States. I'll share some of that footage tonight on television, but there you go. All right, let's go to some of the issues that you and I will cover today. Let's see here. Here's one of them. They moved me here for no apparent reason. Pardoned J6 prisoners stranded with no ID and penniless. We reported this last night in the Worldview report.
Okay.
This is really sad because what they did is took guys about a week before President Trump came into office, put them out in rural places of Oklahoma and whatnot. Where these guys get out, they have no ID, no money. They gave them a bus ticket, but there's no bus terminal nearby. I think Oklahoma City was like 40 miles away. Some of them have no family because their family has turned against them over the J6 thing. I mean, again, the cruelty of people in that Biden regime is just beyond words. And now today, I'm hearing about a bank account. I think I put it over at worldviewreport.com. Let's see here. Worldviewreport.com. I know I did because I got early today. Was always putting up articles. Here we go. Hunter Biden's name, signature, and shared bank account showed up in $60 million fraud investigation. I mean, this family, not only did they apparently enrich themselves to the tune of millions and millions of dollars, but then they treat the American people as they have. Just, it's beyond imagination that this would go down in America. And so now we see the J6ers dumped on the street with nowhere to go and no family and no money.
Yeah, and I think there's in that article, I don't know if we're allowed to raise money on the air, but there's a give, send, go thing you can give to if you want. That's in that article that you had up. People have their own prerogative whether they want to give to that or not. But, the left cannot let go of this. I call it a fake riot. I mean, we now know that there were 26 minimum informants connected to the FBI in that riot. We know that the Capitol Police were waving people in. We know that there was a guy named Ray Epps in the crowd that was saying, the footage, you've seen it, let's go into the Capitol. And we know that the only person that was killed was on the rioters' side, not the government side. But they just can't let go of this because they want to act as if Trump caused this riot. Well, now the issue's gone. Trump pardoned those people. And even the ones that may have gotten out of hand, I mean, haven't they been in jail long enough, to pay their debt to society? So the issue's gone. The left can't let go of it. They keep wanting to talk about it all of the time. And now that the issue has disappeared, to me, this is deep state payback. We're gonna let them out in some remote part of the country. And then if you follow that article, in a lot of cases, they're not even letting people out. The jails themselves are dragging their feet saying, well, we need to process the paperwork, and Monday was Martin Luther King Day, and blah, blah, blah. Not understanding that this is a presidential pardon. And the United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So let these people out and let them out now. And I hope a lot of good lawyers are getting involved in this and suing the absolute daylight out of the prison system if they have the ability to do that. For every single day these people are not let loose, and they should be legally let loose. The moment the ink dried, or the moment the pen left the page on that beautiful, presidential pardon, pardoning, what was it, around 1,500 to 1,600 people, and commuting the sentences of a handful of people. And so the left has no more issue on this. They can't let go of it, though, because that's all they've talked about for the last 4 years. Trump caused a riot. Even though Trump said the word peacefully in his speech, and even though he the drill, he wanted to get the Capitol Police involved, and he was denied. Trump did not lead a riot. And this was, in my opinion, for the most part, entrapment and a fake riot. And they just can't let go of the issue. Even you want to use the 14th Amendment, you remember, to keep him from the presidency, because, a guy that leads a riot, I guess, can't be the president of the United States, even though that was speaking of Confederates leading riots. But who cares about context? They've wanted this issue so bad, and now it's gone. And it's like they can't let go of it. And even beyond that, they're slow walking the freedom process.
Indeed, they are. Pro-abortion White House website gone.
Well, that's another example of, we don't think Trump is really on board with the pro-life issue. Well, why is it that the day that he takes office is the day that website, by the way, that website was put up in the wake of the Roe overturning a couple of years back. I think it was in 2022, talking about how, here's an easy way to get your abortion done. And that whole website is stripped. And so how can people say Trump is not on board with the pro-life issue when that's what he does on day one?
Speaking of Planned Parenthood, March for Life today, the former president of Planned Parenthood, Cecil Rhodes, Richards. Cecil Rhodes was Rhodes Scholarship. Richards, excuse me. 67 years old, died the day of Trump's inauguration. Kind of ironic.
Yeah, do you know who that was? And I didn't realize this until I read that article. That's the daughter of Ann Richards. I don't know if you remember Ann Richards.
The former governor of Texas?
Yeah.
I didn't know that was her daughter.
I believe it is. And she's the one, you remember when George Bush...
You said he was born with a silver foot in his mouth.
Yeah, the silver boot. the silver boot in his mouth.
Wow.
And, I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I mean, her daughter was a militant pro-abortion advocate, never been an abortion she didn't like, right down to tax subsidization for abortions, etc. And I think it's really providential, to be frank with you, that the day Trump is inaugurated is the day that she dies. And now she has to go out into eternity facing a holy God whose sixth commandment is thou shalt not commit murder. And I don't know if I'd want to be in her position.
No, definitely not. By the way, I see some of our footage we have now from this collection of pool cameras we are subscribing to. The March for Life, there seems to be quite a few teenagers there, Dr. Woods. A lot of teenagers. We're seeing some right now on my screen. That's encouraging. And one reason why is because some states are now requiring young people see certain kinds of videos in school even. I can talk to you about that when I come back on the other side. Technology has made many of these young people pro-life, and thankful for that, right? Dr. Andy Woods, our Middle East Bible prophecy, all-around update. We'll be joined by Aharon out of Israel. I think we might have some hostages being released tonight, American time. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use spinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHouseBG.com. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com, worldviewradio.com. This is a video and / audio from Live Action. And Live Action is reporting that Oklahoma House Bill 1603 and Senate Bill 587 would allow for and require that this video at Live Action or similar film be shown in Oklahoma classrooms. Let's see. Planned Parenthood and ACLU have both come out against this, according to News Channel 8 article. So this bill, I don't think, has become law yet. But listen to a little bit of the audio, folks. This is one reason why young people are becoming so pro-life. They're also seeing this video out on social media, regardless of what they see in school or here in school. Here we go.
This is Olivia. Though she has yet to greet the outside world, she has already completed an amazing journey. This is the moment that life begins. A new human being has come into existence. At fertilization, her gender, ethnicity, hair color, eye color, and countless traits are already determined. She begins to implant in the uterus about 1 week after fertilization. Her cells organize into what we call an embryo. At 3 weeks and 1 day, just 22 days after fertilization, Olivia's heartbeat can be detected. The buds of her arms and legs appear by 4 weeks. She begins to move between 5 and 6 weeks with both spontaneous and reflexive movements. At 6 weeks from fertilization, her brain activity can be recorded and bone formation begins. She can bring her hands together at 7.5 weeks, and separate fingers and toes emerge. She can also begin to hiccup. At the beginning of the 9th week, Olivia will have grown from a single cell into nearly 1 billion cells, and she is now called a fetus. She will suck her thumb and swallow, grasp an object, touch her face, sigh, and stretch. At 11 weeks, she is playing in the womb, moving her body and exploring her environment. Her taste bud cells have matured by week 12 but are still scattered throughout her mouth. Her mother will first sense Olivia's movements between 14 and 18 weeks, an event called quickening. Beginning at 18 weeks, ultrasounds show speaking movements in her voice box. Around 20 weeks, with a lot of help, babies have survived outside the womb. At 27 weeks, her eyes are responding to light. She can recognize her parents' voices and will even recognize lullabies and stories. Olivia has gone on an amazing journey during these last 9 months. She will soon signal to her mother that it is time for delivery and greet the outside world.
Wow, that is so powerful, Dr. Woods.
The left say trust the science, follow the science. Well, what is that? That's not a Bible study. That's scientific fact. And why do all of these people that are so pro-science, against seeing this in a classroom, against showing this to someone, who's contemplating an abortion? The technology has advanced to the point, a lot of legal scholars said this back in the day when Roe came out, but now we're living it. But they said legal or medical technology will advance to the point where Roe versus Wade will be laughed at. And that's where we are. If you want to, what do they call this? They call this reproductive justice, is what they call this. And what they're talking about is killing, murdering what you just saw taking place in the womb of their mother, which is clearly a living, breathing, thinking human entity. And so, of course, this should be shown in every public school, and it should be shown to every young mother, or any mother for that matter, who's contemplating an abortion, because it's nothing more than taking an innocent life. By the way, as you would expect, this comports with the Bible perfectly, because the same Greek word brephos, which is baby, is used to describe not just John the Baptist leaping in his mother's womb in Luke, early Luke, but you follow that into Luke 2, that same word is used to describe the baby Jesus lying in the manger. The Greek word brephos is used for both. So the Bible knows no distinction between born and unborn. They're all persons, and now medical technology has developed to the point where it's affirming exactly what the Bible says.
Indeed. Let's go to the World Economic Forum. They're holding their conference again, Davos. A lot of clips coming out of there. Again, this new feed, all of these global feeds that we are now able to legally show and broadcast. Yesterday and today, we're getting a ton of feeds out of the World Economic Forum. And I don't know how much the media is covering this, but one of the most remarkable clips I've heard came from a panel. Listen to what was said about Donald Trump and who's winning and who's losing.
Trump has done something no person in the world has ever done before. A dead man, a dead politician, has risen. Somebody who, if we were 4 years ago at Davos, he's buried, dead politically, known to me. He's now returned. This is the greatest comeback in political history of a politician. And then, therefore, he thinks he can do anything.
We need to also factor in not only who's won, which is Trump, but who's lost, which is to say us. And I guess I would throw into that the epitome of the us who is losing here is Europe. That the European Union and by and large its member states have misread the direction where events were going. The causes that it is interested in climate, human rights, some others, as well as the methods of diplomacy that it prefers, are simply being gradually kind of marginalized as something new, not necessarily something better, but something new moves into the center.
So isn't that interesting? He was dead, now he's resurrected. Now I'm making any implications here, so folks don't confuse me. But when I heard that, there will one day be a leader on the world stage who will literally, the Bible says in Revelation, obtain a mortal wound and give the appearance of being resurrected from the dead. And I'm studying that quite a bit as I'm teaching through the book of Revelation. I haven't gotten to that chapter yet. But I'm starting to believe, like Arnold Fruchtenbaum, it's possible somehow God allows Satan to resurrect the Antichrist from the dead. Or does Satan just take on the physical body of the Antichrist? And he could do both. He could be indwelling him. So he's not just demon possessed, he's Satan possessed at that point. But even just maybe possessing his body and fulfilling Isaiah, hit the 5 eyes of Satan. I will, be like God. It's interesting that he listened to that. And again, I'm not implying anything about Donald Trump. What I'm saying is there will be other politicians who will start talking about a leader at some point, but it won't be he was politically dead and resurrected. I think it will be he was physically dead and resurrected, which I think is what's going to cause many people to believe the Antichrist is the Messiah. And then when he, the beast, the indwelling of Satan in the Antichrist, overcomes the 2 witnesses in Jerusalem after 3.5 years, this guy is going to have literally physically risen from the dead, I think, or at least give the appearance of such as and being Satan possessed, the beast overcoming them, killing them, laying in the streets for 3 days, giving gifts to each other, celebrating. Then they rise up and are called up to heaven, a rapture. Wow. I just thought interesting that this is almost a getting ready in the political climate for something that's going to be more than a political resurrection, but a literal resurrection. Your thoughts?
Well, I agree with your interpretation, Fruchtenbaum's interpretation. And the reason is when you look at Revelation 13, I think it's verse 14 in the original Greek related to the beast, it uses the Greek verb za'ao, and which means to raise to life. And that's the same Greek word used earlier in the book, Revelation 2, verse 8, I think it is, to describe the bodily resurrection of Jesus. So just as Jesus rose physically from the dead, the Antichrist that basically is going to do the same thing. In other words, it's going to be more than a career resuscitation, more than a political comeback. It's actually a bodily, physical resurrection from the dead. And that's what Satan is throwing at the world in the last days. He's trying to run his program as close to the authentic program of God as he can, so as to deceive the masses. And people say, well, if that's true, then why doesn't Satan do that today? And the answer is today he has handcuffs on him. It's called the restrainer. That's described in 2 Thessalonians 2, verses 6 and 7. Satan can't do anything he wants to do today. He can do a lot of evil, but he can't, do the things I'm talking about. But the day in history comes where the church is removed, the restrainer is gone, and then Satan pours all of his energy and efforts into his man of the hour, the Antichrist. And in that unique time in history, he actually brings the Antichrist back from the dead after suffering a mortal head wound. So anything that happens to a person short of that can't be the Antichrist. People have wanted to argue this for Nero. People have tried to argue forever that Nero was the Antichrist spoken of in Revelation 13 because he had sort of a political comeback. It's called Nero Redivivus if you studied out in the literature. But the text goes beyond that. It's more than just some kind of political comeback. It's an actual physical resurrection from the dead.
And what about those who say that the revived Roman Empire, that's the mortal wound that, I think David Reagan teaches that.
Well, I would say it's both and. It's not either or. So there is a revived Rome that comes back. But the biblical text, when you look at Revelation 13, verse 14, I think it is, goes beyond just a revived empire. It's talking about something that physically comes back to life, akin to what Jesus accomplished.
We're going to go to break, and then we come back. We're going to go to Aharon, who's standing by, our reporter on the ground in Israel, brought to you by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. Later today, maybe after you listen to Crosstalk with Jim Schneider at 2 o'clock Central at vcy.org. Later today or over the weekend, you could go to Worldview Tube, and I have the interview from last night with former Pfizer employee Karen Kingston. She warned in 2021 on my show, October of 2021, that COVID shots would create turbo cancers as elites now roll out the so-called solution in the form of individualized AI vaccines. She warned that the mRNA in those would do that. Then I had an interview last night with Dr. Naomi Wolf, who actually worked inside the Clinton-Gore White House. Dr. Naomi Wolf talked to me about the dangers of these AI-generated mRNA vaccines and the dystopian world that such a system would produce. We talked about using it to know everything about us, collecting data, harvesting data, selling data, and even using it to know about your lifestyle and harvesting your organs if you end up in the hospital. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview. All right, welcome back. Glad you're with us. Worldview Radio, our website, worldviewradio.com. And again, if you want to listen to those interviews about the dangers of the mRNA, so-called AI-generated vaccines, 2 interviews on that at worldviewtube.com. You can access those a little bit later. Don't forget, folks, we have coming up on the 22nd of February, if you go to www.tvstore.com, I have information on that now. I should have gotten it up a lot quicker, but we are so swamped here. There just aren't enough hours in the day. www.tvstore.com. You guys can now secure tickets to be a part of the live television audience on Saturday night, February 22nd, with Colonel Rob Maness, the former commander of Kirkland Air Force Base, worked in the nuclear division, one of the 3 guys that helped write the nuclear football manual that goes with the president. Colonel Rob Maness, former border patrol officer, J.J. Carroll, and Todd Bensman, expert on the border, been down there in the Darien Gap, in Mexico, reporting in other places, Guatemala and other places, reporting for us and, showing up on camera for us at nights. All 3 of these gentlemen will be with us live as we have a live studio audience, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. And you can secure your tickets and your seat at www.tvstore.com. Now, the tickets are $5, okay? And you're like, why are you doing this? Well, 2 reasons. One, we want to harvest your data. Everybody wants to harvest your data. Well, I don't want your DNA. I don't want your biometrics. I don't want your fingerprint, your iris scan, none of that. All I want to know is who you are and verifying it because you used a credit card and hoping that way allows us to know who's in the building, right? So it's really being done for 2 reasons. One, so we can reach back out to you and let you know, hey, we got another event coming up. We'd love to have you be a part of a live studio audience. So we can reach back out to you because we have now your email address. But the second and main reason is we want to vet you and have a list. And so when you check in, we'll be able to say, hey, Dr. Woods, glad you got a ticket. Come on in. And you can walk past the person checking everybody. So yeah, we'll have security there. And we'll be checking people in by their name into the building. All right. So it's really for security reasons. And then so we can reach back out to you later. Something changes, we can reach out to you. But I don't anticipate anything changing. February 22nd, it's a Saturday night. And I was really kind of doing this for people in the tri-state area because, you know, we're right on the border. You know, we're here in Tennessee, but we're on the border of Mississippi and Arkansas. I saw a gentleman buy a $5 ticket last night from Arizona. So some of you maybe are planning on flying in. You know, we did do one of these events not too long ago. A lady flew in from Washington, D.C. Sunny, that's her name, Sunny. She emails us from time to time. She flew in and out, I think, in the same day. Flew in early that morning, took in the event, and flew back out that night. Well, you won't be able to do that because this is a night event. But, you know, maybe some of our listening friends in Wisconsin and Illinois want to drive down to Memphis. It's very centrally located. So there it is. We finally got it online, www.tvstore.com. We're going to be talking about the State of the Union. It's a State of the Union panel, World War III, the border, deportation. And now we're getting video footage today of all of these illegal invaders. Most of them have criminal records. They have been rounded up and put on planes, and they've been flown out of the U.S. We have that footage for you tonight on TV. But we'd love to have you come join us if you want to, Saturday night, February 22nd, in our hometown, Collierville, Tennessee. And you can get a local hotel stay. I suggest you stay in Collierville or Germantown. I do not suggest you stay in Memphis. I suggest you stay in Collierville or Germantown, which is where the event will be held, right here in Germantown, or in Collierville. Okay? All right, there you go. All right, Dr. Woods, we're joined now by our reporter on the ground out of Israel, Aharon. Aharon, we have access to footage with this new service we have subscribed to, giving us footage from all over the world. Some of it will show live, some of it will capture and show it later. But tonight at 10:30 American time, Central Time, and I don't know, things will be set back, I'm sure, because of Hamas. But we're told we're going to get a live feed tonight of more hostages being released. Can you tell us about that, please?
Absolutely, Brannon. This is keeping us on our toes, on our knees. 4 girls will be released. These, I believe, are the families. It was promised to us that there would be a couple of others that would be released, and they will not be released. And the reason is they are in the hands of the Islamic Jihad, not in the hands of Hamas. And this deal wasn't signed with the Islamic Jihad, it was signed with Hamas. So Hamas, really, they should not have included that. They should not have taken responsibility for that. Or at least if they were going to take responsibility, they should have followed it through. But in any event, we're not going to boycott this transaction, because we're still getting 4 of our girls back home. Now it's going to be very costly. It's going to cost us 200 people from prison, and you know, the country has more or less accepted that. Here's where it gets a little sticky. That's not really the right word. It's more uncomfortable. Apparently, the 3 girls that were released this last week, which, by the way, we showed that, you showed that, the joy, the emotion, the tears, the pain. Thankfully, they are now in good hands and they're being treated well. But those 3 girls, Brannon, they were actually being in the hands of families in the Gaza Strip. That's where they have been held hostage, in families. And apparently these 4 girls who are going to be released now, they have not been with families. They have been in the tunnels. So there's a somewhat apprehension as to, what kind of state they're going to be in. And if I can just remind the viewers that one of the 3 girls that was released this week, she had 2 of her fingers blown off on October the 7th. So she was suffering with that. Apparently someone in the crowd at the Nova Festival who was just shooting up happened to shoot at her hand, and she got 2 of her fingers blown off, and she had to go through that. So there is this apprehension, what kind of state are the girls going to be in? But that's not going to take away the sense of hope, the sense that, they are alive. Hopefully they are alive. They will be reunited with their families and friends. So that's what we are waiting for on Shabbat, on the Sabbath.
All right. And yet, of course, here's a headline: Hamas celebrates ceasefire deal with Gaza. And as our friend Robert Spencer writes, and with good reason, Dr. Woods, what do you make of this article? Let's see what Aaron thinks of your commentary on this.
Yeah, well, it's as much as it's a tough issue for me because, everyone's happy about hostages being released and families being reunited, etc. Who wouldn't be happy about that? But, Robert Spencer and others are pointing out that in spite of all the exuberance involved with that, this continues to be a one-sided deal. I mean, we get a few hostages kind of slow walked out, and they get what, thousands I've heard of people that are actually have Israeli blood on their hands, actual terrorists. And the whole thing to me looks very one-sided. I mean, there's an issue when Hamas is in the streets of Gaza celebrating this. And there's a problem when Gallant threatens to quit the government if Netanyahu goes through with this. So it's wonderful to see the hostages released, but at the end of the day, it continues to be a very, one-sided deal. And I think that's what Spencer is saying in that article. And I agree with what he's saying.
What are the polls showing? Anything new, Aaron, as far as Benjamin Netanyahu, his popularity, his staying, his going? Where are we at?
If anything, Brannon, it's looking stable, because even though Ben Gvir did threaten to leave the government, he did leave the government, but he didn't pull the government down. So that's good, even though it has shaken the coalition. It's the first time in 2 years that the government has really got so close. Even through the judicial reforms, it wasn't this serious, but this time it was. But Netanyahu, the fact that he's delivered 3 girls, he's going to be delivering another 4. And this is what the public have been crying for. So in a way, if anything, his popularity has increased. Yeah, the issue, I do agree with Dr. Andy. This is the problem. This is where Hamas have got us. This is why they kidnapped our people. They know that we value life more than they value death. I personally believe that the government should have a policy. After this war, they should say, from this time on, anyone that is kidnapped, we will not negotiate. We will not bargain. I think we need to legislate that, perhaps. But be that as it may, we are in a situation where Hamas have got us. Now, having said that, I think Netanyahu did a brilliant tactical move. He made this negotiation. He made the deal. He agreed to have a ceasefire. It's not just a hostage exchange, it's a ceasefire as well. And I was a little upset about it, thinking this is giving a lifeline to Hamas. But what has been going on the last week is we have started a major incursion inside of Judea and Samaria. It's an operation called Operation Iron Wall. And we have been pounding Hamas terror cells inside the West Bank, Judea and Samaria. So Hamas may have thought that we're taking our foot off the gas by going after them, and they were right as far as the Gaza Strip. But Bibi had another plan in mind, and this has given the momentum to go for it, and we are going for it. We are attacking tunnels underground. We are attacking ammunition sites. It's been exposed that the Iranians have been smuggling weapons through Jordan inside of Judea and Samaria. So, and we've been talking about this for a while, the very real dangers of terror cells inside, especially Samaria. But now we are finally going after them, and we're going after them with force. So this has surprised the Hamas leaders. So, there's a bit of negative, a bit of positive with this whole deal, but we are continuing the fighting.
All right, let's open the phone lines. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions for Aaron or Dr. Andy Woods. 1-800-347-9829. 1-800-347-9829. And tonight, I'm going to have with me, Colton is going to be with me. He is a former sheriff deputy here in our state of Tennessee, and he was sentenced to 70 months in federal prison for just simply being on the U.S. Capitol grounds. He'll be my guest tonight on Brannon Howse Live. Hello, I'm Brannon Howse. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or a loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com. Worldviewtalk.com. All right, 1-800-347-9829, 1-800-347-9829. Your thoughts, your comments, your questions on anything, really. Have at it. Open line, 1-800-347-9829. Barbara Streisand, winds pushing Los Angeles wildfires are due to climate change, Dr. Woods. You know, the woman has at one time had one of the most beautiful, I was listening to her rendition of Silent Night that I grew up listening to as a kid. And I said to my wife, when I heard it a few weeks ago, we were listening, I said, she really did have one of the most beautiful voices. Control. I mean, she had great control. I mean, she had a beautiful voice. But boy, her politics are so bad. Her worldview is so skewed. Dr. Woods?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks to Aaron for correcting me a little bit there. I think I said Gallant threatened to leave the government. I think it's Ben Gvir. So thank you, brother, for the gentle correction. I always appreciate that. Barbara Streisand, you're dealing with someone who wants to blame every problem in the world on so-called climate change. That's what the article highlights. And now she's doing the same thing with the out-of-control fires in California, which, by the way, were burning an area probably about half an hour, from where I grew up, the Pacific Palisades area, kind of near Pepperdine University, near the Getty Museum. And of course, this has nothing to do in her mind with the fact that there was no water in the fire hydrants because the reservoir was empty, because the state of California has been under one-party, supermajority rule forever, meaning the Democrats and the Democrats alone make the decisions there. So it couldn't, and by the way, the mayor of Los Angeles was out of the country at the time. And having grown up in California, I can tell you that these wildfires are common and they're seasonal. So you would think that the mayor would be in town during the season when these types of things, typically transpire. So in Barbara Streisand's mind, it has nothing to do with government malfeasance, misfeasance, negligence. Of course, let's just blame the whole thing on this umbrella category, climate change.
Yep.
And I bring that up because that's what they're going to use, I think, ultimately to bring in world government. They're going to apply this to anything and everything. And here they're using it to circumvent basic human responsibility. And
by the way, Aaron, quick comment here because I want to go to the calls. But Barbara Streisand's Jewish, and I've seen her saying some things since October 7th. And I'm like, absolutely. Good for you, Barbara. Good for you. So there are times I have to say, wrong, no. And then other times say, yes, good for you, Barbara.
Well, it's not anti-Semitic by pointing out when a Jewish person sticks their nose, and God gave us big noses.
Okay, you said it, not me.
I know. I'm deliberately saying it. That we've got to keep our noses in the right lane. And, sadly, she is obviously a left-wing liberal, and she's into global warming and all that. But it's perfectly fine to call that out, Brandon.
But I do also appreciate her at times using her notability and celebrity status to defend the Jewish state and the Jewish people and call it the atrocities of October 7th, because she might get listened to by some people on the left that wouldn't listen to me.
Right, absolutely. No, she is a strong advocate for Israel. In fact, about 10 years ago, she was here in Israel when the ex-president Shimon Peres celebrated his 90th birthday, and she was the guest singer, and it was a massive event, and she's loved. She's loved by, pretty much everyone in Israel because of her talent.
Yeah, she's very talented.
And she sings some beautiful songs in Hebrew as well.
Good for her.
But, she does good.
Let's go to the phone lines. John in Pennsylvania, line 1. Hi, John.
Hello there, Brannon. I've got a question. I don't understand this. Aaron was just saying that Israel is so pro-life, they're willing to give up hundreds of hostages. Yet American Jews are so pro-abortion, it drives me nuts.
All right.
Even John Fetterman, our own senator, voted along with the Democrats to allow a baby to die that survives a botched abortion.
Okay, quick answer from you, Aaron.
Yeah, good point, brother. Listen, if you go back 2,000 years ago, there was about 18 different Jewish groups or sects. You got the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Herodians, the Zealots. They were all very, very different ideologies. Some were liberal, some were conservative, and it's the same today. So many different kinds of Jewish groups, and very much liberal Jews. My blessed mother of blessed memory, she's passed on now. She also was a very liberal Jew. She was also very pro-abortion. I'm sad to say. That's the sad reality. The prophets of old, they dealt with this as well in the days of the kings and the days of the judges. So nothing is new under the sun. It's very sad to know. But
Carl, line 4. Go ahead, Carl. Thanks for calling in, Carl.
Yeah, may the Holy Spirit of God bless all of your ministries.
Thank you.
The Bible says God's a just God, so I believe that God's going to give the Antichrist equal time. Just as Jesus performed miracles, I believe the Antichrist would perform miracles, same ones. And that's my take on that. And as far as Israel goes, I believe they should have the death penalty. They would be releasing all these people back that were murderers and stuff. Anyway, God bless your ministry.
Thank you, Carl. Let's go to Faye in Florida. Line 2, Faye in Florida. Go ahead, Faye.
Hi, Brannon. Happy New Year, Dr. Woods and Aaron. Thank you for all that you do, Brannon. I've been learning so much of my Bible that I didn't know before, and I've been studying all my life.
You're very kind.
I'm just so excited. But the sad news of it is watching these globalists, like the man that pronounced that Trump had risen from the dead. How dare they make that implication? I really think they are messing with people's minds, good people's minds, and making implications of him being an antichrist. It's horrible. And then to boot, the people that are causing this I don't know how these disasters are being caused, but there will be a reckoning for those that have helped. And I think the North Carolina one, I really was surprised today to watch Billy Franklin Graham announce how that was his hometown, but he grew up 8 miles from where the devastation in Asheville was. I didn't know that.
Yep.
President Trump, we're so lucky he's walking the earth right now and helping us fight all these evil people. I don't understand who they are.
Thank you, Faye. Thank you. And I appreciate your kind words. And you're right. And we, by the way, had today the president taking off of the South Lawn on Air Force One as well. He was flying out of Joint Base. And now we have at Worldview Tube a second player. There'll be nothing but breaking news, so we can cover the hostages coming home hopefully tonight. Stay tuned for Crosstalk with Jim Schneider. Take care.
This has been.
And that's our broadcast on those stations. We're back with WROS out of Jacksonville, Florida, and you here at Worldview Tube. Gentlemen, I want to go real quick to worldviewtube.com. Here's our website for those of you watching and listening. And of course, by listening, you can go there, worldviewtube.com. Now we see we have the breaking news channel underneath. And so right now we're carrying, guys, the live stream of the pro-life rally, the pro-life march in Washington, D.C. Again, I'm really quite shocked as I watch the footage, guys, at how many young people are there. So in some respects, young people outnumber the older adults, depending on the camera shot you're looking at and the different time. But this is the first one we've got coming out of there with this player going up live while we were on the air. So we'll have 2 players. One will be us, and the other will be any breaking news. Logan, any other examples of breaking news we'll be covering in that box today? Israel hostages tonight, for sure we know. And the thing is, there's going to be more, because as breaking news happens, it pops up. So we don't know what the breaking news will be. Isn't it something, guys, that we have the ability, by God's blessing, to sit now and talk with Aharon in Israel live in real time? You know, when I sat down and wrote out the plan for what is now Worldview Tube in June of 2006, you couldn't do this. The technology wasn't there yet. We were lucky if we could put up a video that was 15 minutes long without getting a spinning wheel. And I remember thinking in June of 2006, wouldn't it be wonderful when everybody is now on high-speed cable, not dial-up? And I sat in my office writing out the plan for what we wanted to do and started putting it into place, knowing the technology would catch up. But God is so good to allow us to do this. You want to comment on that, Dr. Woods?
Well, yeah, not only was the technology not in place in 2006, but what technology there was monopolistically controlled by the wrong people. And so all you got was one perspective. And the internet and social media, all of these things that we have today is a game changer. So we're able in a nanosecond to get out the other side of the narrative, something that was suppressed from the people, you know, for a very long time. And the left, I think, is having a real difficult time coming to terms with that. That's why they keep talking about misinformation and disinformation, meaning we want to go back to the good old days where we controlled the channel of ideas. And in our current climate, they can't do that. And we should thank God for it every single day of our lives.
And I have to wonder if that breaking news feed down there, that box, Aharon, may one day be showing the world 3 witnesses preaching in Jerusalem for 3.5 years. Wouldn't that be something? My own network showing that to the world along with others?
It would be amazing, Brannon. And hopefully by then, my skill with technology will be so much better that I'll be able to interview them.
Well, see, now, clearly we've gotten into now a eschatology disagreement, and that's fine. Aaron's planning on being in Jerusalem during the tribulation, Andy.
Yeah. I gave away my theology.
That's fine. If you're there and want to try to interview him, and I'm wrong and you're right, then we will gladly be saying, go interview him for us. You know, in fact, if I'm wrong and you're right, I'll sit here at the anchor desk and say, ladies and gentlemen, Aharon is going to interview Elijah and Moses right now. Wow.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
Aharon, don't worry about it. We're going to explain everything to you on the way up.
Great.
See, everybody, we can disagree on the timing and all still be friends, right? Yeah, but it
Look,
really
I
is
don't even
remarkable.
know. I don't even know if I agree with myself, Brennan. So,
Yeah. Well, what did you? Aren't you the one that said if you get 3 Jews in a room, you get what?
2 Jews, 3 opinions, and 4 decisions.
Well, we're glad you're on the ground there in Israel for us now, and we're just so happy with the technology. We're happy and so humbled by the team. The Lord has providentially allowed us to govern together here, or to gather together here. So we got some exciting things planned. By the way, I think we're working on trying to go and get some behind the scenes interviews and live taping live to tape interviews at Hermitage in Nashville, Andrew Jackson's home. So we want to go do that. We also were talking today with Colonel Rob Maness about us going over at some point to the Air Force Museum in Ohio. And he said, the B-1 bomber that's in that building, he said, I was on board that, I was on there. I was on that. I was part of flying that plane. So pretty remarkable. Some of the things we're planning to do technology-wise. But as we get ready to conclude here, we're watching the footage of the March for Life event. Do you guys have March for Life events in Israel, Aaron?
We absolutely we do, and it's connected actually with commemorating Holocaust Memorial Days and things like that.
Yeah, that would make sense. LightToTheNationsMinistry.com, LightToTheNationsMinistry.com. Dr. Woods is No, that's Rob Lynn said. Andy Woods' website is andywoodsministries.org, andywoodsministries.org. We carry Dr. Woods on Saturdays and Sundays at noon Central here at worldviewtube.com. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your support. worldviewfoundation.com. Take care.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan, and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
And I work at this top consulting firm, and my client is the Pentagon. So I'm embedded in the Pentagon. I work in the Joint Staff, which is the top military command. Once you lost, I went into the intelligence community and I became an FBI special agent. So I became a spy hunter. So I was a counterintelligence agent, special agent at the FBI.
What's your overall assessment of Trump?
He's a sociopathic narcissist who is only interested in advancing his name, his wealth, and his fame.
Is there anything you can do to protect American people from stuff that he might try to do?
I'm in conversation with a couple of retired generals to try to explore what we can do.
Who were the retired generals that you were going to talk to?
They're 1, 2, or 3 star generals and admirals. You probably know maybe 4 stars. So I also have a big day tomorrow, probably the biggest day of all. So we have this huge meeting with military leaders in a very secure room called the Tank.
Ooh.
So we have a tank meeting with all of the top leaders in the United States military tomorrow on my topic that I prepared.
So it went well?
I think it went well. It's very sensitive information. We're going to have to keep it between us. I specialize in artificial intelligence and emerging technologies like quantum, cybersecurity. Yeah.
What's quantum? I haven't heard of it.
Quantum is incredibly fast supercomputing that doesn't yet exist but will soon exist. And when it does, it will change everything.
Hegseth.
Hegseth.
Hegseth. Who's that?
Secretary of Defense. He's cheated on all of his wives, all of his girlfriends. He's had some sexual assault allegations. He's an alcoholic. There's a lot of observations of him drinking.
You're not a spy. You're not trying to